Today, the coronavirus. Tomorrow, the apocalypse. But first, coffee.
So one of the things that my classes have really battled with this year has been morality. Where does it come from? What is it? We have argued a whole lot about whether things are inherently good or evil. I believe there was one particular instance where me and Olivia Shelton had a really good discussion during intervention about snitching. Because if you see something, you don't say something, are you as guilty of the action that you saw being committed? So if you watch somebody stab somebody, are you just as guilty of the crime as the person who stabbed someone because you didn't report them? I don't have a good answer for that. I do, but that's not why I'm making this video. We could discuss that all day long. For thousands of years, philosophers have argued that. Well, in this case, let's talk about coronavirus and how it's related to slavery. Obviously, the government hasn't given us much of a choice in what we're going to be doing about coronavirus. They did not open us up to the idea of popular sovereignty, not for this particular topic. As we know, the idea of popular sovereignty says that you should be able to vote, to determine your own future, set your own fate. Well, during this time period of manifest destiny, as we spread out west, we see how that works out.
Americans are going to benefit. We're going to get new land, we're going to have expanded agriculture, and we're going to have an opportunity to make a profit. And as we know, everything in life is about getting that bread. The reality is that out west, there's all kinds of opportunities because the government pretty much had their hands off for a variety of reasons, mostly because they didn't have the resources to enforce any of their rules, really. The only one that they really battled over was slavery. Is that the slaves that were brought out west were not given a choice. They did not get subjected to that idea of freedom, of popular sovereignty. Natives were not given that opportunity. Natives were forced by several different orders, several different tricks, treaties, broken promises from the federal government. They were forced into reservations. They were forced off of their land. We know that. The Trail of Tears, Andrew Jackson, where Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren both set up and took steps to actively push the Cherokee out of Georgia and parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, and into Oklahoma. Well, the reality of it is that they weren't given the ability to choose. Today's world is very similar because when people are given the right to choose, they tend to choose poorly. When the American people are allowed to decide for themselves, the American people a lot of times make a bad decision, which is why we have a republic and not a direct democracy. The Founding Fathers were terrified of democracy, mob rule, the idea that one group of dumb people could ruin everything for everyone. This is why we have this idea.
The Republic.
The Republic is this concept that we will vote for people and they will help decide the best course of action based on specialized knowledge and expertise in different matters. The real problem becomes what happens when we don't listen to those experts, when we wind up not paying attention to what they're saying. Well, popular sovereignty, I can't even talk. Popular sovereignty is I give up. Popular sovereignty is what we get when we don't listen to those experts, when the people decide, whether it's through a formal vote or whether it's through arbitrary means. We are dealing with a crisis in the United States.
This is an unprecedented time in our history. There has never been anything quite like it before. And there probably won't be again for a very long time. This is something that, as a historian, excites me, as weird as that is to say, because we are living right in the middle of history. We are smack dab in the middle of... So, it's in reality, that was right smack dab in the middle of a sentence my father called me. The reality, I guess, is that popular sovereignty is what we get when the people decide that they're going to do whatever they want, regardless of what the government says. That is what mob rule consists of. And this idea of popular sovereignty, as it applies to slavery, is one that the government actually okayed. The government said that you guys can set this up for yourselves, figure it out, vote on it. But did the people really get along? No, they didn't. We know that. They wind up in situations like Bleeding Kansas, where John Brown and his band of border ruffians decide that they're going to start shooting up Lawrence. Them and the pro-slavery government meet in opposition, and it's a huge firefight. It's a boom bang, shoot 'em up like the OK Corral, only worse because 200 people died instead of like 8. John Brown and his militia really do a number on Lawrence. And what happens is that idea of popular sovereignty is what really sets off the Civil War. Manifest Destiny is not inherently good or evil, but it sets the stage for a lot of really bad stuff. But it also sets the stage for a lot of really good stuff. The bad stuff includes more slavery. It includes the oppression of minorities like natives. It includes the destruction of the environment. It includes a whole list of really terrible stuff. But it also sets up for a whole lot of good stuff, an expansion of wealth, an expansion of U.S. territorial power, an expansion of the Americans' ability to make something out of themselves, to come from the East with very little and set up a small empire out West. Manifest Destiny is the American dream personified. It is the end-all, be-all to go out west to California, to make that money, to find that gold, but also to sell the tools to the people who are trying to find the gold. The real money isn't in finding gold. It isn't in stumbling across some magic rocks in the ground that are going to make you rich. It's through the work. It's through the hard work. The only way you'll ever get wealthy is through hard work, through intelligence, through hard work. You're not going to stumble into fortune. YouTubers, they didn't stumble into fortune. They figured out a formula that works, and they have to put in the hours. By saying YouTube is a good career, not necessarily, but there's a lot of people make a lot of money on YouTube because they know what works and they do it because they're paying attention, they're smart, and they're hardworking. The people who travel out west are the original YouTubers. They figure out a formula that works and they build on that formula until they have enough of a fan base that they can sell their products to, which is essentially what YouTube does. Popular sovereignty, the idea of the people ruling, is not inherently bad. But just like Manifest Destiny, if mob rule is allowed to take over, there can be a lot of bad stuff that happens as a result of that. So there's a handful of thoughts about Manifest Destiny. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, some in-between stuff. Just let me know what you guys think in that second assignment. And we'll talk about it hopefully if we get back to school here pretty soon. We'll be able to spend a little more time talking about some good stuff and some bad stuff that comes out of Manifest Destiny. But it's really a mixed bag, so there's a lot to think about there, as there is with anything historical. All right, I'll catch you all later.